So I did two senior projects, one for my environmental science degree and one for my adventure education degree. And I was really struggling for a long time to figure out what to do because it's two senior projects and I didn't know how to do the two separately. And so I ended up trying to find the best way possible to do them together. And luckily, my time at Prescott College, my sophomore year, I did this WELS course, which stands for Wilderness Expeditionary Landscape Studies. And it's a 3-part semester course, and the first course is about adventure education and learning our technical skills, so how to backpack and read a map and all of that. The second was landscape ecology, so the ecology of the land, the geology, the human history, all of that. And the third was conservation education, so learning how to teach and communicate what we were learning. And that course was exactly what I wanted, and it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach environmental science and study and backpack, and so that's what I did for my senior project. I applied to work at my old high school and work their 26-day backpacking trip that I had done as a junior and gone and worked logistics for as a senior. And they hired me, and so I spent a week on campus prepping for the course, doing our food planning, looking at our I-10, looking at maps, getting to know my co-instructor, talking to our director about our students, figuring out what days were going to be really long, where our water caches were, all of that. And then I met my students, and the next day we left for Death Valley. And that was that. We were in the field for what ended up being, I believe, 22 or 24 days with the coronavirus starting. Things changed and shifted, and it really was a testament to adventure education being something that is never exactly what you expect it to be, and the need for adaptability. And that was very much my adventure education side of my senior project. And my environmental science side, I am developing and creating a curriculum handbook and guide for this course for future educators to look through and pick and choose what lessons they want to take with them, and essentially just give them more tools to teach while they're out there. Because when I was a student on the course, I came back from this incredible experience that honestly shaped me in more ways than I think I even understand now. And I left still wanting more. I left realizing that I didn't know a whole lot about the landscape, that I could name 2 of the plants there, and I knew nothing about the indigenous peoples, nothing about the geology, and I wanted to. And so this curriculum, this lesson handbook is to help facilitate that, and give educators these tools, these pre-designed lesson plans and activities to take and teach, and help create that sense of place and hopefully stewardship and land efficacy. I think this was one of the hardest trips I've ever worked. We had really harsh weather. Over our 24-day course, we had 2 days of sun with the temperature being above 55 degrees. And the rest of it, we were either getting snowed on, rained on, wind gusts of like up to 50 miles an hour, or it was just cold. And working with our program director that day and talking to him, he informed us that there was a pretty gnarly weather system coming in, and it just would be a very poor decision for us to try and crest the mountain range. And so we ended up getting rerouted roughly 15 miles around it, and we were going, and we had roughly 6 miles to make that day, and we were only a mile from camp, and we just got absolutely snowed on. We were just like, oh gosh, we cannot keep going. We need to camp here, basically. And so we hunkered down, we were waiting, thought maybe the storm would pass, and it wouldn't. There ended up being like 4 inches of snow that morning, and we had to wake up and get an alpine start, so we woke the kids up around like 5:30 in the morning, leaving camp by like 6:30 to try and get to our solo resupply on time. And that morning, our students were done. They were just done. They were so tired. They were so sad about the weather. They were cold. They were hungry. They were zapped. They were totally zapped. And so we get them going, we're moving, and along the road leading up to this view, there's these bobcat tracks actually in the snow. And our group was actually named the Desert Kittens, And so we see these bobcat tracks, and me and my co start yelling at our group because we're behind them, and they're like, guys, wait! And they're already waiting at the view because they just couldn't help but take it in. It was incredible. It looked over the valley with sand dunes and just incredible mountains in the distance while we're up in the snow and the early morning light. And we come across our students and we're like, guys, did you see the bobcat tracks? And they're like, yeah, we thought they were coyote tracks. And we're like, no, they're cat tracks. And they got so excited because they're the desert kittens. It was incredible to see how just one little moment just completely shifted our group and the attitude. I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest. I have done a total of 2 official field semesters at Prescott College, which is fairly unheard of, even for adventure education majors. And none of them ever go as planned. And if I'm being honest, that is the best thing that you could ever hope for as an adventure education major, because none of your courses are ever going to go as you plan them to. You can put so much effort, so much time and energy into them, and something's going to go wrong that you never in a million years saw coming. And that's okay. Part of being an adventure education major is your adaptability, your ability to change on the fly and assess the situation and say, okay, here's how we're going to move forward. And all you can do is hope for the best. And that's what that curriculum guide is. It's this, here's a bunch of options, here's a bunch of information and a bunch of ways to do this. Take it and do what you can with it. And my time in the field also shaped those lessons. I started out wanting to do some really hard technical science stuff. And my time with the students out in the field, they just want to get to know their landscape and the area better. And so it totally shifted the way that I designed the lesson plans and even the lessons that I chose to include in it. The curriculum handbook will be just handed over to the program, and ideally it's something that educators can continue to add to as the seasons go on with, hey, this worked really well, hey, this didn't, and continue to add and grow the resource till it's this really big thing that anyone can pick up and use, and there's just so much knowledge. There's always a way to do what you love. And it's never going to be a right or a wrong. It's going to be what you want. And I didn't know how to take a Bachelor's of Science degree in environmental studies and have it work with adventure education. I didn't think that that was possible. I thought I had to do 2 things completely separately. Instead, I got to bring them together in a way that stays true to me and is something that excites me to work on and look at and get to share with the world, instead of something that I'm doing just because I have to. This is something I wanted to do, and this is something that I want to keep doing because it's how I want to teach. It's how I want to show up and present in this world. And it's always possible to do what you love. It's just a matter of how. And even right now with the coronavirus is, okay, this came out of left field, not a whole lot we can do. This is how we're gonna move forward though. Typically the course that I worked, the way it ends is with an 8-mile run back to campus. And the students run across the soccer field and run through this gate called the AWE gate, which stands for the Athenian Wilderness Experience. And they run through this gate, they shake the head of school's hand, and they run across the field to their friends and their family and their teachers who haven't seen them in a month. And some of them have been waiting for that experience since they were 6th graders. So they've been waiting 6 years for that moment, and they didn't get it. And I think that that was probably the hardest moment on the course, was when we told them they don't get that moment. There were a lot of tears, there was some anger, there was a lot of frustration, and there were students that were international students who were kind of like, well, what do we do? How does that leave us? How are we getting home? Are we going home? And it is just like a true testament to people's resiliency, because in that moment, some of them wanted to call it. Some of them were like, then why did we even do this? Like that moment is what I wanted. It's all that I wanted and was working towards. And when that moment was taken away, finding something new and finding a way to move forward is all that you can do. And that's what all of the things going wrong on field courses has taught me. And it gave me the ability to be there with my students in that moment and say, hey, this sucks and this is hard and I am so sorry, but we're gonna keep going. And we did. And yeah, it was really great. We actually did a ceremony, and this neon pink bracelet that I'm wearing, every single member of my group has one, including my co. And it was our way of bringing closure to what otherwise could have been this kind of open-ended thing.